Welcome to Woodcreek at 6. My name is Jairo Obege. I am a teacher of English with the high schoolers Key Stage 4. That's year 10 and 11. I also double up as the head of marketing and communications here at Woodcreek School. I joined the school 6 years ago, and I've gathered a very interesting panel today to have a discussion around our journey that has been for the last 6 years. To my left side is Miss Doris Morochia, teacher 001, very, very critical. I think you'll be part of our story for generations and generations. We'll be studying you in books. So I think you're busy writing that history book. The director is here with us, Mr. Karoki. Thank you for making time.
Thank you.
On to my right is my favorite student, Celine Mutuota. I think they'll just tell us a bit more about themselves. And I'm joined by a parent as well, Ms. Jane Murithi, who will also introduce herself and just tell us more about what she does and why she's here. So I think I'll go straight to Ms. Doris Morochia. You can start.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Doris Morochia. I'm a teacher of Kiswahili and religious studies in high school. Okay. And I'm also the head of behavior management team.
Okay.
Yes, I'm employee 001, and I'm happy to be here 6 years down the line.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Peter Karoki. I'm the director of the school. I'm the one who came up with the idea of the school almost 7 years ago. And 1 year down the line, we were able to do basic construction and started off the school. And we never thought we'd be here 6 years down at the line after the day we opened. But here we are. We are celebrating our 6th year as an operational school, and we've grown tremendously. And we'll talk more about all the other issues,
the kind of growth and the challenges.
And the challenges that have been there.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll hear from us.
All right.
My name is Celine Dutamutota. I'm a student at Woodcreek. I'm in year 11. I've been at Woodcreek for the past 5 years, and I was the first student to officially join high school.
Okay. At some point, you were the only student in class?
Yes.
In class 6, and the only one who did the exams for checkpoint year 6 alone.
There's a story around that whole checkpoint exam.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll come back to it. Celine, you'll be told the story today. Yes.
I'm Jane Murithi. I'm a parent, proud parent at Woodcreek of 2 wonderful children. My daughter Marisa in year 10. And my son Maynard in year 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maynard, I know Maynard as the footballer.
Yes.
There's a huge story around.
And Melissa, quite bright. And
I think you've had an engagement with
I
Melissa.
had an engagement with that girl. She's super. She's not like a kid. She's a grown-up. The way she's saying things.
Yeah, she is an old soul.
Yeah,
she does put me in check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, so you can't come and teach the students when you're not prepared?
No, you can't.
Ms. Doris?
Not at all, not at all. Because they also have a lot of information.
Okay.
And the moment they realize you don't know what you're talking about, you've lost them. So you need to be ahead of whatever you're covering. You have to prepare ahead so that you're ready for them.
Which makes me wonder, when you were setting up 6 years ago, 7 years, 2017, I think that's when the concept started coming together, the name and everything else. Did you, at least from the director's perspective, then probably Doris will talk about the teachers, what was your imagination about the kind of school you had? What was the, why a school, like, what was that about? I mean, I would have set up a different business, considering schools, the return, the ROI will take a bit longer.
Jairo, along the way, I've gotten my children a bit older. My daughter is 28 years old. I think about me, I'm a businessman. First, I'm an accountant, trained accountant, and I worked in the corporates before I went into business myself. And when my daughter was in class 4, we changed residences. And when we changed residences, we went to a place where there were no schools that were, as she was mentioning, Riara and the McKinneys and all that. And the only school that was next door was teaching international curriculum. And I took my daughter there. And my daughter then was around 8 years old. And she was this girl who really never liked school. And you can imagine your first daughter, your first kid, 9 years, and you struggle to take them to school. And they wake up one day and says, Dad, I'm not going to school. Then the next day, I don't like school. Then all of a sudden, when I took her to the school next door that was teaching international curriculum, she liked school. And there was a change.
Something clicks for you.
Something clicked, there was change in my also interest in what she's doing.
Right.
And that's, I can say, was the genesis of me, getting interest in schools and schooling. And because of that, I followed her education, and the others came in. And because of my interests in what my students, my kids were doing, there were 2 daughters and 1 son, and my interest in what they're doing and how they're doing, I got involved in the PTA, and eventually the owners of the school that she was going invited me to join them as a shareholder and a board member. First as a shareholder. They were struggling with finances, and in my work environment, I had a bit of money here and there. And I bought the shares. And when I bought the shares, I did not know that they had probably put a trap on me. So the minute I bought the shares, they told me, we'll put you in the board.
Right.
And I went in the board immediately. In fact, buying the shares this month and next month, I'm in the board. And I was instrumental in helping the school then. It was quite a small school with 56 students, I remember. But 8 years down the line, the school had, 400, over 400 students. Yes. In that 8 years, I learned everything about schooling. But one thing I also realized was that in this part of this country, in this part of the world, there is a demand for good schools.
Okay.
And that's the genesis of Woodcreek School. So I thought about how can I be able to get more, contribution. How can I contribute more in getting a good school that is relevant, that is to the needs of the parent and, of course, to the needs of today's dynamic child.
Okay. Speaking of dynamic child, and so the teacher has to be involved.
The teacher has to be involved. Yes.
So you meet Doris.
Remember, I'm not a teacher.
Yes.
I'm a businessman.
Correct.
I've started constructing. I'm very good at at developing instructors.
Yes.
So we started sometimes constructing sometimes in January March of 2017 because we got the approval. The approvals were quite late. So we got in 2017 we started the construction March, and by around August we thought you'd open in September. But unfortunately, we weren't. So in October, I think you came in October or September? September 2017, I started now figuring out, since we're doing construction, classes are coming up, I need personnel. I had no idea. There was a lady who was teaching my son at home, and I was just talking to her and said, she told me, there's a teacher I know who doesn't have a job and she's looking for a job. So send her to me. There was no 2-3 people you interview. So I told her, you're on job. And of course I told her what I want to do and how I want to start. And I remember her sharing her story later, saying she really wasn't convinced that there would be a school, but she wanted a job.
I mean, she's here. She can tell us.
She's here. Yeah.
Doris,
she's here.
You're just unemployed.
And on 1st of September or 1st October, she was on the job. This job was to start in next year, 2018. And we didn't have books, we didn't have desks, we didn't have anything.
Basically, you just had the structures.
We had the structures, and the structures were not yet finished. They were coming up. So Doris, she can give us her story, how we started, what we started looking at, how we were getting the books, how we were getting the desk, and of course there will be the students. That's
I mean, it's very interesting. Doris.
Yes.
So you were just unemployed first,
Yes, first.
But there was half the dream, half the need from you to join the journey and start the school.
Sure.
How was that?
So I come, meet the director, and he's talking about a very big dream that I couldn't actually put my thoughts into it and see actually this is going to work out. But again, remember, I needed my job. So I had to buy the
And mind you,
idea.
meeting in Western, not in the school. Yeah.
You can imagine, we are talking about a school that has not even been established.
Almost sounds like a pyramid
We
scheme.
don't even have the buildings up yet.
Yeah.
But you know, the beauty of it is that I was assured a job. And that is actually something that I liked, and I was in need anyway. And to be honest, from the start, even if it sounded as if it was too good to be true, but I could see that the director was very dedicated and he was very serious about the dream of Woodcreek School.
Okay.
And actually, through the talks that I had with him, I was able to look at teaching and education in a very different perspective. Complete change. Because when I listened to the mission, when I saw the renders for the school, the structures and all that, actually I remember talking about the 21st century kind of a student.
Oh, and
because
teacher.
And a teacher, yes,
Okay.
there's teacher and the student. And you know, when we talk about 21st century teacher, this is someone who is who thinks critically. Someone is very good in collaboration. Someone is good in teamwork, you know, and all that. Trying to imagine and put all this together, it was a challenge, you know. Since we didn't have any other employer, I was the only one. So even consulting was a challenge.
So
You know,
I can imagine, Jane, the teacher is saying we need a 21st century teacher. And they are also asking themselves, am I that teacher? You know, and am I telling the director the right thing? So your responsibility was to tell the right thing.
things,
exactly.
At that particular point, because he's business, you're teaching.
Yes.
Celine,
Yes.
then you joined.
Yes.
How was that journey? Where were you from? And what were you guys looking for? And why Woodcreek School? What did you stay around here? Or?
So we went to so many schools, but then we came to Woodcreek, and we came the day before we opened, the day before school opened.
Okay.
And I did my interview. Story for another day.
Of course, I'm assuming you failed. Because, yeah, we were. Miss Doris, you must have been looking for like the only student in high school, really. Whether she had passed or failed your school.
We were actually excited to have her.
To have Celine come.
Exactly.
I believe in your brain.
Yes.
Yeah, 6. Yeah.
Okay.
So then, my mom decided to go buy uniform. We had not been told if I've been allowed in. No.
Or not.
We went and bought uniform.
God bless you, ma'am. I like her belief.
So
Yes.
then, I think 2 weeks late, not 2 weeks, like 4 days later, everyone's opened. We go to school. We are living in Langata. I used to arrive to school at 5 in the morning to, I don't know, to open the gates or what.
So your mom, because of staying in Langata, your mom had to like drive here very early and beat the
Very
traffic,
early.
and that was quite a some distance. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then sometimes there were this like traffic. You wake up just slightly late, there's traffic.
You can imagine, yeah.
And then coming to home from school to home, 6 hours on the road, because if everyone is also trying to go back home from work, there is traffic, everything. But then what I liked was that if my mom wasn't going to pick me, my aunties or uncles would come. And I remember my auntie telling me she was so happy that my mom had moved me schools, because as Mr. Kariuki said, his daughter didn't like school. Now her, she didn't like me. I hated school. I would cry. I would fake injuries not to come to school.
What? Really?
Yeah. Just
Tears.
so you just did not generally like
No.
school. I hope that experience changed because you know
Then I
you could be
came,
moving from
I said,
frying
do you
pan
like
to-
school?
but now when I came to Woodcreek, the first day was iffy. I was like, maybe not so much. Then I enjoyed school.
Okay.
Actually, I remember when Celine joined us, she was the only student in class. And so it's like we had a customized timetable for her. She could come and tell us, now, I think these lessons that we're having in the afternoon, how about we start with them then
And then
we
we switch.
we switch. And we could do that because we had the leisure of doing that. And so it was interesting times. Those
So the
were
flexibility of the school and the timetable and everything,
Yes.
to Mr. Karoki, before I come to Jane, is that dynamic nature of the organization. Is that something you are deliberate about? Because I've been able to experience it, and I think Mama Marisa...
We're very deliberate about,
Yes.
being responsive to the client, to the customer. And you remember we have, and we still have, we had and we still have this open door policy where we are open to, to get, parents to suggest, to tell us what you're not doing
Feedback,
right,
yeah.
how we, how they think we should, the schooling should be done. And of course we have a discussion on it here. So what Serene is saying that she comes in, we had teachers for all subjects. And we had this dream that we are going to get the students. So she, as she says, she could be able to be taught by whoever teacher she wants to be taught. They could be able to custom make their, their lessons very well. And that's one, that flexibility, that being responsive to the customer and the parent, of course, and the students. That teaching that is relevant to today's world, because teaching is not an end in itself. It's for a purpose, isn't it? Yes. So when you have then to get the teachers and the school being able to be responsive, and you definitely are going to get the customer.
Okay.
I think that's one thing that has propelled us ahead and gotten us the student numbers that we have quite high, and of course the interest that we've gotten from the parents, the interest that we've gotten from even teachers, employees want to join us and become part of Woodcreek School. Is that responsiveness, that dynamism, that open-minded way of looking at education.
Is that, I mean, just to pick probably Jane's mind, is that your experience in terms of just open door policy? I mean, you're always in my office with let me report you, with complaints from here to Mombasa. But I think I wouldn't call them complaints. It's feedback.
Yeah.
But I would want to think I'm always looking forward to the feedback, because my job as the head of communication is to listen to the client and then communicate to the rest of the system what the market is saying and what the market is looking out for. But in the beginning, I want to assume, just like Celine, you are looking for something.
Yeah.
So what were you looking for? And because you've joined us, say, a year or so ago, what were you looking for? And did you find it? And is what the director imagined, and Miss Doris in terms of the teacher, and Miss Celine thinking of this teacher who was probably giving her a lot of headache. What's that experience like from your perspective as a parent?
Okay, for me, when I was looking for schools, Marisa had just finished Standard 8.
Yes.
And done pretty well. I mean,
Okay.
she did pretty well. And then with the confusion of the change of systems in terms of CBC and whatever it is that was going on, I felt that there was a gap missing. And in my background, I'm also in marketing and communications, and I'm also in change management. And I also run a foundation in creative learning and coding. So with all that and what I have seen in my experience, in my background, not only in the corporate life, but also when you travel and you meet different people of different engagements. I've been to MIT, Cambridge University, Oxford, I went to Leeds. So you can see the way people learn is different.
Okay.
And it's beyond A's in terms of who makes it.
Right.
It is your diversity, how you analyze situations,
Okay.
how you manage yourself, because I tell my children, all situations are not great, but you can make them great.
True.
In a sense. So you can change your narrative.
Okay.
And when I was changing them I went around and looked at schools. So there are certain things I was looking at was, which school will portray African excellence? Okay?
Okay.
Because a lot of international schools are either Asian or white. So I feel like when the children come there, they come playing second fiddle. So I wanted a place where my kids can look at themselves and say, I have been in an environment that people can make it, and I can make it. I don't have to be second best or third best to anyone. So that was one criteria for myself. I wanted a school that can build a dream, because our children need to build dreams. They're not in a scenario like our parents where you're surviving. They're in an environment and a landscape where you're able to say that this is what I envision to be. I want to be a footballer, and it's possible.
Okay.
I want to figure out coding and learning, and it's possible. I want to be an amazing teacher, and it's possible. And you can actually live it. So I wanted an environment that can really build that in my children. Thirdly, for me also was infrastructure.
Right.
I've also, in my past career, I was also at USIU. I've been in academics for like 10 years. I've seen the impact of infrastructure, because it also leads to other opportunities, leads you to clubs, interactions, into things like MUN, into how you manage online learning. It's part of infrastructure.
Talking of COVID, online learning. We'll come to that story.
It's part
Story
of
for another day,
infrastructure,
yes.
because in many instances, people just think infrastructure is classroom. It's not.
Okay.
So that was an aspect that I was looking at. Then also for me, I believe in a spiritual background.
Right.
A school that has an anchor into the basic elements of how do I treat myself and my fellow human being.
Okay.
And that foundation for me is very important, because we don't live alone. We don't live in an island. So when we did, and I'm a parent. There's an element of mom has said.
Yes.
But when certain things come up, especially with your education, I always involve my children. And I think it came from my dad, because my dad told me when I was young, what school do you want to go to? I was in standard 1. I had no idea. I went to my neighbors and asked them, what school are you going to? And that's how I ended up in Valley Road.
Yes.
You know, high school, the same thing. He was like, so what school do you want to go to? So I went and I checked. My brothers at him were in Strathmore, so I decided to go to Kianda. But so he made you make a decision.
Right.
And so even with the children, we went to various schools, and they gave me their pros and cons. And we unanimously just settled on Woodcreek. And I told them, you're joining at a checkpoint here. Are we ready? Are you ready to do the checkpoints? And they're like, Mom, we shall apply ourselves. And didn't we apply ourselves?
Oh boy, we did.
Even I applied myself.
Yes. So I mean, just before I come back to my colleagues here, even you applying yourself as a parent, what does that mean in this then new curriculum? What's your experience like?
There's an element of, as parents and children, to unlearn certain behaviors.
Okay.
Be a bit more involved in what they're doing. When my son was joining, I think the sports clubs, football was full. And I think I called you and I told you, this is a deal breaker.
Yeah, I remember.
This is a deal breaker. And the fact that you're able to listen and get back to me and give him the opportunity to showcase what he's capable of doing, because to him that is how he manages and socializes. It's one of his main points of interaction. And so when we came in and we had done the exams, because they joined in January, there were subjects they had not covered. So we sat down with the various teachers and they said, okay, fine, there's not a problem, but we'll need to do additional classes for them to catch up.
I remember I had additional classes with Marisa in the morning.
So the options was in the morning and in the evening.
Yes.
And the kids chose in the morning. So you were here 6:37?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to wake up.
It was a struggle.
and drop them to school. And then it was extra difficult for me because I just also started my consultancy. So I had a new firm that I'm beginning, new clients, new school. We're here at 6:30 and I told them, we will do this until chalk point, but I can't read for you. You have to make sure that the time I'm investing and also your teacher's time, you're going to make good use of them.
Okay.
And I think they did.
Celine, just let me hear Celine's story about checkpoints, and probably we'll come back to the director. You have a story there?
First student to do checkpoints.
You did checkpoints, Celine. How many times had you been here before you searched for those checkpoints?
One.
One
Just
time.
one time.
Yeah.
One time.
Yeah.
One time.
Yeah.
And then it was a decision that the teachers asked me, do we register this one kid for the checkpoints and she's been here for one term? And I said, we are a school. And ours is to show people that we are functional. So we register. And they were a bit apprehensive that how will she do? And I put the challenge to them. All of you, there's no way you can say, all of you, there's no, that one kid, you cannot be able to instruct her to pass the exams. Never mind how the results were.
Yeah.
I'd like, so what I want you to paint to, I think, my audience is that journey, because you've done, Jane talks about the very specific reasons why she was looking for a school. You know, infrastructure, education, you know, how we teach and everything. Here you are, switching systems, coming here, doing a checkpoint. Very briefly, you did your checkpoints. You know, never mind the fight we had on the side, which you are not, now you're learning about the fight. But you did checkpoints in year 6 and year 9.
Yeah.
Tell me the story.
My mom told me I have checkpoints, and it did not hit half checkpoints till April, the month for checkpoints. So you're just sat in class, and even during April, I came to school to meet with my science teacher, because I feel like that's where everything was going downhill. So I met with her, and we did papers, past papers throughout. I think it was for 3 days. She gave me a past paper, we did it like that. I did my exams. So my first problem was, it was me and her teacher in her exam room, right? There's no way I'm cheating. No matter how much I try.
You are looking for help. There's no help.
There's no help.
Okay.
So you sit there, you're looking at the paper, you've done past papers.
Yeah.
You're doing the paper, you're still confused, because after all, your brain is still confused on how certain questions are answered and all this. So you're doing the...
I mean, and you've just had a month to prepare for this. Okay.
You're doing the paper, you're just trying your best. Some questions, you know the answer is wrong, but you move anyways. You write. Results came out. First of all, my mother hid my results from me.
Really?
I did not find out until I think the last term in year 6.
Okay.
And my results are not to be spoken of.
They're not coming.
They're not coming.
Okay.
But then I transitioned to year 9. I feel like at this point, I had gotten a grasp of everything. Everything was flowing nicely. Sciences, I noticed I'm really strong in sciences, even though the marks back there
were not very good. Okay.
And math and English, I know I shocked some people, not going to point fingers. But when I was doing the paper, first of all,
the year 9.
The year 9 paper.
Yes.
And now you're not alone.
Yeah, now, I don't know if we were 50, 100.
Oh, your class is one of the classes that grew. I think
grew so fast.
Yeah.
Because the first was Brian. Is it Brian who came
Yeah, it was
Yes, Brian.
me, Bran, a term.
Yeah.
Then me, Bran, Yanis, another term.
Yeah.
You
After
wake
that-
up one morning of online school, you're being told, oh, you're moving to year 8. Wow, you're expecting 3-4 people. You're seeing the whole of Kiambu is on the screen. You're seeing 15 people, and you're under shock, because all this time you've known 3 people. So, and then that was when we were also transitioning to coming back to school.
To physical school. Yes.
Yeah, so then you're like, wow, like that was a big change. It was a bigger change than this checkpoint thing.
COVID
COVID
game
was a
changer for
game
us.
changer. But I think it's testament to what the experiences you had and everything. But I'm sure, just like I've had people. Anytime we mention COVID, I had everyone reacting to it. I'll come to you how that experience was for you. But Doris.
Yes.
And Mr. Karaoke. COVID.
Yeah, I think even I'll go first.
Yes.
Even before I go to our experience with COVID, when we started, I had a dream. That one I can say, and I wanted a school that is quite relevant to today's world and today's child and today's parent.
Are we?
And yes, we are. And I also wanted one that is able, that can be, well equipped, with the best, equipment and with the best teachers, and the one that can benchmark with the best in the world. That was my mind, that was my vision. And I knew it's not going to be an easy job. But I could not, and I had the faith. And I would tell Miss Doris and the rest of the team that joined me immediately in 2017 and later in 2018, this is what I want to achieve. And to some extent, I was even more ambitious than what could be achieved for a purpose. I wanted them to get the kind of mindset that I have. But like any vision bearer, I was still fearful. What if I do not get to where I am promising the people that we are going? What if we don't get there?
Yeah.
And today when I look back, like what Steve Jobs would say, I can now connect the dots looking backward.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very well. I can see that my push has borne fruit, and so well. And I'll say is good handwork, is believing in that things are doable, and having a team that has been able to help to this
Interpret
level.
your vision.
Yeah, including
Talk about the numbers briefly.
the
story of
we
the numbers.
started the story of numbers when we opened school on 1st January 2018, exactly 6 years ago. We opened with 9 children. By the end of the term, we had 15. The next term, we got only 5. And you can imagine then we were on a 15-acre campus, having invested quite a tidy sum in millions, and you only have 15 children. The numbers did not grow, initially because, convincing people that we're doing the right thing. The next term, the third term of our existence, we got about 30. So we went around 50. And then COVID came. And here we are. I remember there are even some suppliers of textbook. I had to tell that we are a new school. We cannot be able to pay you money. We'll pay you money when we come. But they didn't believe. They kept on pushing us. So for COVID came, and we closed school with about 105 students. And 2020, it was sometimes March.
By closing, mean switched now to online school?
To online school,
Yes.
when the schools were ordered closed,
Yes.
that, all the establishments were ordered closed. We had 105 children. But COVID was our turning point.
Right.
With all the issues that were going on, we had a young population of a young staff, in age.
Yes.
Members of staff were quite young. And when we decided to switch to online learning, they are well trained in IT, and we chose a group that was quite enthusiastic. And of course, they were a bit apprehensive. They might lose their jobs. So they were quite eager to do the online learning, teaching rather. And they were able to roll out the online teaching, and Serena has alluded to it. The class in online classes started getting numbers and numbers and numbers. And by the time we opened in October, September of 2020, schools, we had closed school with about 100. We had over 200. I would say COVID was our turning point. And since then, our numbers have kept on growing. Today, we are talking of 700 plus students. So COVID and our preparedness to work on extreme conditions is what, and this is what has grown us up. We've never stopped from day one. We've been on the go from day one. We've never stopped. And we can only say that God has been good to us. We believe in God and our hard work, and we have the numbers that we are comfortable with, both students and the teaching staff.
Celine, 6 years, 5 years you've been here. Look back, how has the journey been like for you?
You notice that someone comes to school. When they do the interview, I feel like the teachers notice something within the students even before they're in the school. They look at how they do the interview, even though sometimes you'll find that, like when we're having a discussion in our class, I think only 2% of our class got the marks they're getting right now in the interviews, got that same mark.
Okay.
But you find that those people who didn't get that mark, they're higher than the ones who did get that mark. Because you see, people push themselves to do better because they know that the school teaches you that you're not doing this for someone else, you're doing this for yourself. That if you don't make it now, no one is going to come and pick
Rescue
you up
you.
and
Yes.
take you wherever you wanted to go.
Yeah. So that's the growth you're seeing in your friends now.
Yes, and also you find that the school also pushes you to do what you're strong at. Because you'll find someone is not very good at languages, but math and sciences, they grasp it easily. Humanities, all these different subjects, or even
The arts.
arts,
Yes.
and even out of class activities like
Yes.
clubs, extra and co-curricular. They also, some of the clubs relate to your careers. Like if you want to do culinary as a career in the future, there's culinary club. If you want to be a dancer, there's dance club. If you want to be a model, there's modeling club, which is all these clubs that you won't see in other schools. And also it also pushes and drives the student to notice that the careers are not only doctor, engineer, pilots,
Accountant.
and then
Or
the
marketer.
rest,
Or marketer.
that you can make money in other careers. And it's not just like, I feel like people make a box of, if you don't do these careers, you won't succeed
In life.
Yeah, if you decide you want to be a model and you can be a pilot, your life is over. Just think about
You're in discipline.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
And it's just this whole mindset of how I think sometimes I also think that when parents move, like I don't know if it's the same for you, but when a parent sees a child doing something, they want to learn more about it themselves, because these are not things they were exposed to. Because sometimes I sit with my dad in the kitchen, but he's helping me answer business questions because he did business in uni. And he's telling me how this is how business questions are also answered in uni. And that exposure is something you won't see everywhere else. The point that you're learning things now that you'll be doing in uni and in a higher level is just so fun. And because then you'll find that someone going to uni without these skills might end up dropping out because they think it's difficult. Well, someone who has taught these skills will go to uni and be
Even thrive.
Yeah,
because it's something you've already been exposed to.
This,
Yes.
I was doing this in year 4.
Yes.
Easy. And these are things that I feel like everyone needs to learn.
To be exposed to.
Yeah.
Now,
So
Mr. Jairo,
yes,
I think
I need to
when
move to
Celine talks about that, one thing that I need to mention is that for us, we are very keen when it comes to discipline and behavior, because for a student to be able to achieve all that, they need to be well behaved. Because again,
so you cut out the distractions completely.
Yes, we cut out all the distractions so that the students are focused on what is ahead of them.
Doris, I think
Yes.
you probably just shared something else. I think I'll probably pick Mr. Karaoke's thought on this one, and then I probably want to hear what Doris thinks about it. We've turned 6 this year. You're saying some of the things have come together for you in terms of the growth and the experiences that we've had. I mean, I've listened to Celine here talking about just when someone comes in, they're feeling very weak, meek and timid. The school sort of like allows them to flourish and open up and just express themselves. Over the years, what are some of the things, Mr. Karaoke, that you'd say stood out as the major challenges, 3 of them, for you to get to where we've gotten to today? And the second question, for me, which I'm always, we have discussion very frequently, and I'm always very passionate about it, what opportunities are there for us? As a school, as a people, as a community, and maybe we might start discussing legacy, like when you look back and say, this is what I did.
Yeah.
So 3 challenges, and what, moving forward, what opportunities exist for us?
I'll talk about the challenges first, not in any order. I think the first challenge that we got was being able to bring up a professional team that is going to learn the school.
Okay.
It wasn't easy identifying the right teachers, and a number of them came and left almost immediately. And eventually now I can say we've got a team that is ready to go. The second challenge was acceptance. And a lot of people would ask, do you have another sister school or partner school? Or what kind of experiences do you have? As from myself and the rest of the team. So we had a bit, but that's very, very okay, because any new establishment, you first have to prove yourself before you're accepted. So the acceptance was a bit of a challenge, and we went quite far in trying to market ourselves. And the third challenge was getting the finance to get to where we are.
Right.
I remember one question we were asked by the banks that has funded us so far. How are you going to make it and grow the school? That was a question in this environment of international schooling that it seems like it is quite being populated by people or organizations that are coming, schools that are coming from outside the country with deep pockets. And our answer was very simple. We are Kenyans, we know what Kenyans want, and we are determined to get there. And sure enough, we have made quite some good ground on the opportunities or the potential that is there. This is a developing country, and this is a developing region. And when you look at the whole world today, I think Africa is the next frontier as far as development and growth is concerned.
Right.
We've got a lot of untapped, wealth in Africa, including the physical resources themselves. Very much untapped. We've got a population in Africa that is growing very fast. We've got the youngest population, in the world is from Africa, and the potential is a lot in education. For all these young people who are being born today, who are growing up, they need schooling, and they need good schooling. We cannot say more than that. The potential is quite big, and we need to take hold of it. And we need to teach our people the right thing for them to be able to become that global citizen who is able to compete with the rest of the world. And we are up to the task.
So it's taken, if I just catch you right, so it's taken a lot of sacrifice from you to say, I am going to step up, take the challenge, sacrifice, so that I give Celine a fighting chance.
Do I have an alternative? Yeah, I know there's an opportunity. I can be able to realize what has not been done right, and what will be my contribution to the world at the end of the day, isn't it? I don't need food to, I don't need to earn, for my stomach. I think I've earned that. So if I want to make an impact to my people, to my region, that's the best thing I can do.
Educate them.
Educate
The rest of the world.
the population, the rest of the population.
Jane, it's 6 years now. We had imaginations at the beginning. We have had challenges, as you've had. You were looking for a certain outfit in the name of a school. You found one. How has it been for you so far? Has there been growth? And looking forward, are you excited that you think then this is a stage that your children stand to benefit moving forward?
So it was a conversation that we're having, and she told me the other day, I'm thinking of doing patent law. That's the, what exactly does that entail according to you?
Okay.
She's like, I'm not sure, but it sounds like something I'd be interested in, or entertainment law. So I'm like, you can see even when they're thinking about law as a degree, it's not how we used to think about law as a degree.
Right.
We used to think as law as a career as you just go to court, but now she's actually broken down into different areas and opportunities in terms of whatever it is that she's thinking about. And then for Maynard, he was like, so I really want to be a footballer, but I know we'll have to retire at some point. So this is what I want to be able to do. So he plays Fortnite. So he's like, now by the time I'm turning 13, I think I'll be able to now play professional matches and do this and go into coding and engineering, because him as a student, he's very well-rounded. So his potential of anything is possible. But I usually tell him there's a challenge with those people who know and are good at everything. They get lost because they don't know what to choose. So you also have to get focused in terms of what it is. And what I feel like Woodcreek does is that as much as it nurtures your interests, it also gives you an element to understand who you are as a person in terms of what you want to do and what impact you want to do. Even as they listen to news, you'll come and tell me, we had a deep conversation in terms of what's happening in Israel. And I was shocked. I mean, at the level of the conversation that we were actually having, because in our generation, it will be like, Israel is good, Iran, there's a problem.
Yes.
But she was like, no, it's not. And it was a total engagement. And you're like, this is a spiritual child. She knows the Exodus in the Bible.
In the Bible, yeah.
And she's like, the level of humanity, we're all the same. Whatever is happening in Israel, as much as Israel has the power that it has, it should not be doing whatever it is doing because it's an issue in terms of humanity. And her capacity at age 14, I was like, wow, her understanding of world events and the impact that it also has on us and here in Kenya. I can say as a parent, I did a good job, but I didn't parent her alone.
Realize where she has reached.
Yes.
And you understand the conversations that they're having in class. Miss Sharon has done an amazing job in terms of the conversations that are just not, 100% textbook. You actually bring it to life in terms of what's going on, because there will be the people forming the future policies of this country. They're the ones who will be deciding where are we as Kenya, because we all know that Kenya has a huge potential and it has, everybody wants a part of Kenya. So what policies will they be doing to protect us and grow us as a nation and as a continent?
Yeah. Finally, before I wind up, the director mentioned earlier that he had a chat with your daughter.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence. We didn't set up the podcast because we had this chat.
Yeah.
But before I give my final comments, listening to Marisa speak, and Marisa here, I use her name metaphorically because you've interacted with so many other students. You meet them on Tuesdays and Thursdays at their school events. You watch them on stage. Do you see, first of all, you describe that encounter, then do you see that vision coming together?
Along the way, I realized that the children that we are teaching, the children that we have, the children that have turned up here in Woodcreek School, I had to even ask them again, how old are you again? Because when I was 14, 13, 15, I thought I could not even speak French in English in the first place. And yet you have this person not only able to talk French, but able to articulate the issues very, very clearly. And even you look at their thinking, when you talk to them, their thinking level, the ability to think logically, critical thinking, it is on a different level. And then I knew that I think now we are ready to take on the world as a school. We've reached there. And when I was starting up the school, I did not think that we are there. But it's only probably because we were not attracting, or rather, I did not know that the children and education and the bit about evaluation that we've gotten to a very high level. And we, as adults, are the ones who do not know, who have not actually upped our game and accepted this is where the world is. And probably that's why we are struggling a lot. But the children are quite up there. And then when you give them the right environment for them to learn and interact, they are at par with anyone else in the world. We've actually reached the level where we can say we are on the same par with everyone else in the world. And here, just here in this country.
That's very, very, very good to hear.
Maybe something I can
yes,
mention
yes.
to add on that.
Yes.
for us, we want, or we give all our students opportunities to experience, because it's through experience that you're sure, or you know what you're good at. So I think for us to be able to get that kind of a student, because again, we've been intentional about it, where we encourage our students and telling them that they can do anything they put their mind into. When it comes to assembly, we leave them to lead the assembly. And all
I mean,
that.
just to add on that, when you're speaking, I've just been thinking about the experiences we've had, and as I wind up, and thank you very much for taking your time to come and join me in this conversation. We had two experiences that, for me, even challenged me as a teacher. One is when we were building the boarding section. We had to sit down with the kids and ask them, what do you want? And they had very critical things to add on to the boarding facility. Things that we would have missed completely. In fact, if you asked us to build a boarding facility, would have been, those dorms that, have, they're lined with rooms and stuff.
The washrooms at the far
washroom on that end, a matron on that end, and one door, But their insight and the arguments and just the thought process was very critical. It's not just empowering the teachers. I think the director has been kind enough, the students, the director has been kind enough to also empower the teachers.
Yes.
If you look at the boarding, the kindergarten section, they have a beautiful, beautiful complex. This is where I personally was fascinated, is where the director came in and they told the director, we need a purpose-built kindergarten. And then he was generous enough, and I think when you say, your work is done, here it is actually. He sat back and asked the teachers, what do you want? And told them, please design that space. And let me tell you, the entire kindergarten team and Key Stage 1, year 1 and 2, took on the challenge together with the architects and the contractors, and set up a beautiful space. You should visit it. This is just a sum total of an input from the teachers. So I think when you talk about excellence, in our context, it doesn't have to be mediocre because it's from Africa. We can actually do such a brilliant job because we told them, don't design backwards, design forward. Okay, design a kindergarten that kids will use in the next, say, 100 years. I mean, our theater space here, we designed it moving forward. Every other space that the kids are using is to give them a chance moving forward. Finally, I think from me as a teacher here as well, I had to make a choice and a decision and decide that it looks like I might be in the business of imparting knowledge to these young ones for the longest time possible. I don't want to run around and say, oh, I'm going to start, something here, something there. My focus is that child in front of me. My focus now is Celine, and to give Celine a fighting chance. The director says we are at par. The job is on me as the teacher to ensure that when Celine goes to any university around the world, Celine is plug and play. I was talking to a student the other day, and they told me that, they're doing an internship. They are hoping to get a job finally with the company, Spotify. And I'm thinking, as a software engineer, you are on the big stage. This is exactly what I thought that you'll be doing. So not just setting the infrastructure, even as the teachers, even you, the parents, have to join these students now moving forward and realizing, wait a minute, there's a chance here, but it's going to take a lot of sacrifice from you, the parent, in terms of resources. It's going to take a lot of sacrifice from you, Celine, and to realize that what you're doing, you have a chance to come back and build into someone else, or build Africa, or share the knowledge with us, so that we just don't build decent students who eventually share the knowledge outside. For the director, I think the job is already cut out. But for Ms. Doris and I, it's to realize that we are going to be the mats or the steps or the stages that then the young ones are going to step on to be able to achieve more. So for me, it is to give you that opportunity. If I'm excellent, definitely you're going to be excellent. In fact, the challenge is to be better than me. But if I'm mediocre as a teacher, what I'm doing is I might be comfortable, but I'm killing Africa. I'm killing Kenya. So sacrifice comes from everybody, and it is you to realize that the stage is here, the stage is set, and the parents out there to realize that we need to give our students the chance and sacrifice all our resources and push them to the next level. And they must realize the next phase of this life needs them to stand up and give everybody else another chance to rise and fight with the rest of the world. So thank you very much. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts to add, but we could just, yes.
Just listening to what you're saying, sacrifice is beyond money.
Yes.
Sacrifice is also time.
Right.
Okay. Because the time I need to carve out to come for their games and to the activities, to drop them to come and do the ushering or to go to World Scholars activities, it's also time on my end. And also sacrifice to learn. Your set book is Purple Hibiscus.
Yes.
I've been put on a schedule
to read
it.
Chimamanda will be happy to hear this.
I'm not doing a very good job, but I was told 2024 we need to do a better job. Yes. So I am on a schedule. And also in terms of understanding the career potentials that are there for our children that are not the traditional ones.
Yes.
Which actually, as parents, if you actually listen to your kids, you can also look at possibilities. So it was just a conversation we were having, and it came up that actually, why can't mom? It's like, Mom, you know these musicians and artists, you've interacted with them. Why don't you just do talent management with them? And then I was like, but the music industry is like, no, people are making good money. People are making flourishing careers. And I think you can add a different angle into it in terms of how do they manage themselves? How do they manage their money? Why is it that most musicians seem to have a short span and then get broke? Maybe that is what you need to add into that conversation. Weirdly enough, it's a conversation I had somebody a year ago and I'd refused, but I hadn't thought of it in that mindset.
Right.
You understand? So children have a lot to offer. The way they think is very important in terms of how we understand and articulate in their eyes, because their eyes truly are looking towards the future.
True.
We are towards the end of our lifespan.
Yes.
You know, we are just hoping to survive retirement and not be problematic to our children. You know, that is basically our aspiration and goal. But for them, if you look at it and you ready the grounds for them, I think there is a lot that we have to offer, and I'm very excited that Woodcreek is a place that they're able to have their foundation at.
Thank you very much.
Maybe also, before we finish, I would also want to thank our director. Being an employee 001, 6 years down the line, I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of support from our director. We are able to put all this in place to grow our learners and to grow even ourselves as teachers because of the support that he has been offering us. He believed in us that we are the professionals, so we know what to do. And that is actually one of the things that pushed us to be the best in all that we do. So thank you, Mr. Director, and it's my prayer and hope that you will keep supporting us until the end of it all. Thank you.
Remember I said I don't have a choice. I've started it, I cannot let it at the end. I cannot neglect, getting to the end of the journey.
So, asanteni sana. Thank you very much to our listeners, and I hope you've picked a lesson or two. It's 6 years. We say happy birthday, Woodcreek School. It's been a journey full of, ups and downs, but we are proud of what we've achieved. We're looking forward to our next academic results, which come up this year. And we are very excited about the teams and the groups of students we have in front of us. All the programs lined up. We start a new term, very soon. And we hope that this 2024 will be yet another year of growth. Thank you.